This is Alex McNamee of the Herald and Review here at Maroa-Forsyth High School for the Class 2A Regional, where the second game of the night had Clinton beating Maroa-Forsyth 61-38. A really efficient offensive night for Clinton, and Megan Toole especially. She gets over 21 points in what the coach calls one of her best games of the season after missing quite a few games earlier this year with a broken thumb. You know, this was a tight game after the first quarter. Clinton comes out, scores 22 points, has a pretty reasonable lead, but Maroa is right there with them. In the second quarter, it kind of all changed when Clinton's defense turned it up a notch, held them to 5 points in the second quarter, and from there they just had a lead to keep building on and building on. In the third quarter, you have Megan Toole showing up big again. She comes out with 9 points, the same total she had in the first quarter, and in the fourth quarter they pretty much coasted. There were a few steals by Haley Ginger back-to-back, and she ended up with 6 points in the fourth quarter, kind of extending the lead enough to where Coach could take out his big senior players and put in the reserves and coast to the victory. This was a tough way to end the season for Maroa-Forsyth. They lost their leading scorer, Brenna Fink, last week in a game. She tore her ACL, and that has certain ramifications, especially for softball season coming up, which is what she would originally look forward to after basketball season. But they play without her, and still it looks like a pretty decent team effort by the Trojans. It's a 61-38 win for the Clinton Maroons tonight, as they'll go on Thursday to play for a regional championship against Monticello. Be sure to check us out on Twitter and Facebook and at hrpreps.com.
That's usual for Megan Toole. I mean, she's been like that since she's been a freshman, and we knew that. We talked about it. We talked about her threat on the baseline and getting into the basket. Talked about Jessie Scott's threat and being able to shoot deep threes. Talked about Haley Ginger shooting outside threes and then penetrating, punching gaps, and then how Peyton Beaver battles underneath. We know. It's just when you think you got one covered, you got to make sure you got the rest of them covered, because there's someone to bounce back on.
Well, everything that we do starts at the defensive end, and that's what gives us confidence at the offensive end. So when our kids get in a stance and we guard and we see that we're getting stops or some turnovers and run-out layups, then all of a sudden our shooting gets so much better, ball starts going in, and that's what it comes down to with Megan or any of our kids. We got to play at the defensive end.